So you got yourself the Dex Sybaris and you don't know exactly how to mod it, do you? Haha, you came to the right place. My name is Leyzar and today I got a full-blown guide just for you on how to properly mod not just the Dex Sybaris, but weapons in general. You're gonna be learning about weapons, warframes, buffs, synergies, resistances, damage bonuses, etc, etc. So without further ado, let's jump into the Dex Sybaris. Let's begin by having a quick look at how the weapon functions without any mods equipped. And for that, just a couple of our regular free shots. The Dex Sybaris is a semi-automatic rifle with a hit scan attack. The usability on this one is actually pretty good, the weapon being pretty easy to handle. Take a look at the standard 15-meter accuracy and recoil test. Not bad. At full fire rate, most of the bullets will be landing roughly in the center of the crosshairs. Now there is a little bit of recoil there, but just a bit of jiggle, and who doesn't like a bit of jiggle? The magazine on this puppy, 14, but you have a burst trigger, which means every time you fire, the weapon actually fires twice in rapid succession, consuming 2 bullets. So effectively 7 shots out of the 14 magazine. And that's pretty much it. The reload on this one, pretty quick, and the ammunition reserve is sky high. Let's jump into actions to see exactly what Let's jump into stats to see exactly what we're dealing with. The mod capacity on this one should always be 60 out of 60. If yours has 30 out of 30, then something went terribly wrong, because as soon as you finish the mission from the event, you're gonna be getting the weapon with its own weapon slot and the Auto King Catalyst pre-installed, which means you are free to go nuts with the mods. This is one of the advantages of the Dex series. Now it doesn't come Forma, however. You see this little number right here above the star? That means I Forma my weapon a grand total of 6 times. You're gonna have to Forma in Warframe. A lot. This is how we get the most out of our weapons, out of our Warframes, companions, you name it. And if you don't know how to obtain Forma by this point, all you gotta do is crack relics with randoms. It doesn't matter, you're gonna be getting plenty of Forma blueprint. And in Warframe, you should always be crafting a Forma, unless of course you're running low on resources, in which case save them for your warframes and your weapons, etc, etc. If you're curious what the Forma for, it's pretty simple. Let's say your best mod, your highest drain mod that you want to use on said build, let's say, I don't know, maybe it's this one, with 11 drain. By the way, this is a pretty good mod that you get from Nightmare Missions, you should get it, shred, fantastic. You see, this one has a symbol of a little V. That means I should go into actions, plug in that Forma after I built it, and use a V symbol. I apply. But in order to form a weapon, you gotta get it to rank 30 by playing with it. You can go to Hydron Sedna on public and you're gonna be leveling everything pretty quickly, but if you want more details on how to obtain affinity efficiently, that is the experience of leveling your warframes, weapons, etc., I got a nifty guide for you. Link in the cards right now. Oh, that snap failed. Let me try one more time. Okay, that was better. Where was I? Yes, Forma. Plug in Forma if you enjoy the weapon. If you like playing with it, if it's your most powerful weapon, definitely plug in a couple of Forma. You gotta get used to the process anyway. After you plug in a Forma, it goes down to rank nothing. You re-level it to 30, plug in another Forma. Listen, I know that may sound daunting at this point, but trust me, in Warframe we have various ways to really quickly bring up our weapons in our Warframe, so it's not gonna be so tough when you get a little bit higher in MR. And even at low MR, just go public on Hydron Sedna, you're gonna level your stuff pretty quickly and gain some valuable experience. Now, where was I? Accuracy is going to be 28.6, as you saw there, the weapon is plenty accurate, huge ammunition maximum, ammo pickup is going to be 80, again fantastic, fire rate of 3.33. Now, in order to achieve maximum fire rate with a semi-automatic weapon, there's a couple of ways to go about it, but the safest way and the way some players go for is to bind their fire to their scroll wheel, and then when they scroll, it goes like that. You can also use a click macro if you want to, just keep in mind that when it comes to macros in Warframe, Digital Extreme's policies have never really been all that clear. They're very gangster about this one. They say, you do so at your own risk. And I'm quoting on this one. Yeah, I'm serious. Magazine of 14, but effectively 7 shots. Noise alarming, reload on 1.5 seconds, which is super quick. Riven disposition, 4 little balls out of a possible of 5. Riven mods are special mods in Warframe. They are individual to the weapon and the stats on them will be up to RNG. They can be extremely powerful if the Riven disposition is high, like it is on the Dex Sybaris, and if you get lucky with your rolls. When I say lucky with your rolls, you can use Kuva to roll these Rivens, and maybe you get the stats that you wanted. The amount of stats on Rivens are up to this Riven disposition. It's manually controlled by the developer, and the idea kind of goes like this. The more popular a weapon is, the lower the Riven disposition. The less popular a weapon is, the higher the Riven disposition. So you can judge that the Dex Sybaris is not a very popular weapon by looking at the fact that it's got a dispo of 4 out of 5. You can also judge that Rivens will be powerful and they can have a big impact on the weapon, again, if you get the right roll. If you're new in Warframe, if you're under Mastery Rank 10, you know what? Just forget about Rivens. For the time being, don't go out and spend a whole lot of plat on one, because they can be expensive. Not for the Dex, however. And the same Riven will be applying to your Dex Sybaris and your Sybaris Prime as well. Trigger burst, like we talked about, critical chance 45% with a critical multiplier of 2.0x. My friends, this is fantastic. 45% as a base critical chance is pretty high. There is a lot to talk about: critical chance, critical multiplier, location-based multipliers, hidden multipliers in Warframe, all sorts of multipliers. But if you're the kind of person that wants to learn how everything works, I got a guide for you. Link the cards right now. For now, we'll be moving on. Status chance at 10%, which is not fantastic. Even though this is a burst weapon, we're not putting that many damage instances into our targets, and we need the viral proc. We do need it. Next up is the damage layout: impact, puncture, and slash. 33.8. Slash is going to be the highest on this one, but unfortunately the status chance is so low, so it doesn't really help us all that much in terms of status application. So you should really take into account only the contact damage. And when I say contact damage, you gotta think of it like this. Okay, so my weapon deals impact, puncture, and slash. What happens when that damage makes contact with a surface? And by a surface, I mean an enemy. What type of surface is it making contact with? Is it armor? How does impact react to armor? How does puncture react to armor? And so on and so forth. Now, again, this is just for the guys that want to learn. And if you don't know what your targets exactly have, well, it's simple. You go to the simulacrum and you hover over them. Okay, and you see this guy has shield and robotic, and it tells you exactly which of the elements deal extra damage and which of the elements have a negative penalty. Pluses and minuses. Every symbol represents 25%. So if I get 2 pluses, that means plus 50 damage. If I get 1 minus, that means minus 25. You cannot get more than 3. So at the very worst is minus 75%, at the very best is plus 75%. Okay, where do I get all of these? Use the Helios as your sentinel. Yes, and let him scan everything. This is how you get him in the simulacrum. And the simulacrum key is obtained from Cephalon Simaris. This is something for you to do later on in your Warframe quote-unquote adventure. The total damage is going to be 75. Now I'm going to show you a standard build, and I don't want you to freak out because you don't have all the mods. Trust me, all of these mods you will get tons upon tons of. The only problematic mod from my point of view for a new player is Serration. Not because it's hard to get, but because it's going to be sucking so much endo. Why do you suck so much? Now what you can do is leave 2 balls from the top, so it sucks less balls. Just simply 2 from the top will be fine. You don't need to max this one out. Your priority on 99.5% of weapons is multi-shot, split chamber. Get this one maxed out first. After that, you move into critical chance and critical damage. Critical damage with vital sense, critical chance with critical delay, or point strike. 150% versus 200%, but you see critical delay also takes away 20% of your fire rate, bringing it down to 2.67. Now, if you're not gonna bind your fire to your scroll wheel, this is not gonna be an issue, and normally in gameplay you're not gonna feel it. With the Dex Sybaris, you should go shot by shot, go for the enemy's head. Go for a headshot, not for the spammy approach. This is not the weapon for that. Now, these mods that offer you a great chunk of something but also take away a bit of something are called corrupted mods, and they are obtained by doing vault runs. There are a lot of corrupted mods that you will need not only for your weapon builds but also for your Warframe builds, and not only. You gotta get to farming. Link the cards right now to see exactly how you should farm these mods. Don't worry about it, it's pretty quick and painless. Normally. That is. Back to multi-shot, we also got Vigilante Armaments. It's the same as Split Chamber, only this one only offers you 60%. Once again, this one is very easily obtained if you head on down to the plains of Eidolon. Head on down to Cetus, start doing quests there. Also pick up Hunter Munitions, which is one of the most powerful primary mods in the game. You see, this one applies slash to your targets. The damage proc we were talking about that we can't really apply all that well because of the low status chance, because this one applies it on crit. That's right, we have high crit. Fantastic. So through crit, now I can apply status. Not any status, just the slash status effect, which incidentally, it's still the most powerful status effect in Warframe in terms of damage. Next up, we got two 60-60 mods. We refer to 60-60 mods to mods that offer 60% of an element type of damage, that is, for example, Toxin or Cold, and 60% status chance. Now, Malignant Force is obtained from Corrupted Vor in the Void. He may sound all tough and mighty, but actually he folds quite quickly. It's easy to obtain this mod, and he drops all the 60-60 Toxin mod except the Archon mod. If I remember correctly, please correct me in the comment section down below. And if you don't know what heavy weapons are or Archons are, well, just forget it for now. Rhyme round, 60% cold, 60% status chance. This one is from doing spy missions, and I know that if you're a new player, spy missions can be a little bit daunting. Here's the thing, even though the motto of Warframe is ninjas play free, there's hardly any ninjas here. Technically, there's only one ninja. Every single one of us outside of that is essentially a bulldozer that can go through everything. Yes, so if you don't like spy missions, you just need to learn the tricks. There are a couple of tricks that will get you through spy missions with or without a cloaked frame very easily. Papa Leyzar's got guides on all of them. All you gotta do is search me up on YouTube. Got your back covered. And that's pretty much it for the weapon build. Let's test it out and see how she performs. And I'm going to explain more as we go. Just let me make sure I don't have anything that would skew my test results. Depending on what you use on your Warframe, your Sentinel, your Void School, which forget about it for now, it may skew the test results and make things seem more powerful than they actually are. Spawning level 120 for you, I believe, is kind of pointless, so how about level 50s? You ever saw level 50s? And you're gonna have to take my word for it that what I'm spawning are tough targets in terms of survivability. Remember what we talked about with the whole armor or what kind of surfaces you're making contact with? Look at these guys. Look at these guys. They got 1,000 ferrite armor and 1,000 clone flesh if you get through the armor. These are really tough targets. Throughout your Warframe adventures, you will also meet the Corpus, the bucket heads with the giant shields, and the Infested, the guys that have a whole lot of numbers but they're pretty weak. Those are much weaker than these targets and you should have no problem in one-shotting them right quickly. I'm gonna go for a headshot because that's the way you're supposed to use the weapon. Now you see, I did a whole lot of damage on contact, but then the target also kept on taking damage. That is the bleed status effect from Hunter munitions. It deals so much damage. It doesn't care about the enemy's armor like contact damage does. Look at that. Beautiful, fantastic. Now if you take a look at my target, it has this aura around this purpley aura. The reason it's purple and not another color because that's my energy color on the gun. That was a viral proc. Take a look above its health bar. Oh well, it died. Stop dying so quick. Okay, this one died too. Damn it, hold on. No proc on this one. Look at that. No proc whatsoever. No proc whatsoever. So if you don't get procs on your targets, of course, you're not going to be killing them as fast. There we go. That's a vital proc. Look at that symbol. See that? Now, a vital proc on your target mixed in together with a damage over time effect such as slash or heat will improve the damage greatly of that damage over time effect. This is the reason why we want vital on mostly everything. Those two 60-60 mods that I put on the weapon, the cold and the toxin, together by your powers combined form vital damage. And it's meta in Warframe and you want it on basically everything that can crit. Now there is a workaround to this. You don't need to build vital on your weapon if you can obtain vital procs on your targets through outside sources. And by outside sources I mean things like, hey, maybe Warframe abilities, or perhaps your companion's abilities. Yes, so you can work into strategies such as that one. In the meantime, let's go back to our weapon. As you can see, you can easily one-shot high-level, really tough targets, and if you're MR8, 9 something, you're not gonna see Exogog. Exogog is from Railjack, and Exogog is a pretty tough target. You're gonna see Corpus and Infested, which fold very, very easily compared to these guys. I'm just using them to illustrate a point, that the weapon can take out high-level targets, high-level tough targets, pretty easily. And I'm assuming for you that level 50 is high-level. And that concludes the new player portion of the guide. The Dex Sybaris is a fantastic weapon. The Dex Sybaris can take out high-level targets. You don't believe me? I'm gonna push this one to 120. This is the usual test I do because I believe this is a good point for sortie free. Especially if you get a sortie free like survival and you want to stay in forever for whatever reason. Yes, so from 50 I went to 120. Not gonna one-shot the target, but I will 2 to 3 shot it. I got 3 vital procs and a single slash. Take a look at that. Was it the other way around? 3 slashes and 1 vital. Anyway, here's the point. 2 slashes, 2 vitals. Look at the damage taking away. What I'm trying to illustrate here is the fact that most of the weapons damage doesn't come from you making contact with said target. It comes from those damage over time effects, the procs that you put into your target. It's important. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, isn't that? And you can monitor the values and all whatnot. There's also a very big difference between body shots and head shots, which is why you should go for head. Look how many shots I put into my targets. I got 9 slashes of vital and it's not gonna be hitting 50% or roughly 50% health. If I go for headshots, there's another story altogether. Look at that. A single shot this time. Again, we're talking about multipliers. I already linked you the critical chance, critical damage guide. You should check that one out. Back to the point at hand. As you can see, the weapon is plenty capable of killing even higher level targets without much issue. So if you want to invest in the Dex Sybaris, you will be able to use it late game. When I say late game, keep in mind that there's a lot of us that believe that Warframe doesn't really have an endgame per se, because there is no raid scene to do, or there is no PvP scene to do in Warframe. But some players, what they call endgame, is trying to fight level 9,999 or level in the 1,000 enemies. That is an activity you can do, and if you choose to do that with the Dex Sybaris, I'm afraid it simply falls flat on its head. That's not really what most players do, but it is an option for you. For that, I'll link you something a bit later. I'll find a nice segue for you. Now, let's say you have all the resources at your disposal, you're not exactly a new player. An upgraded build would look something along these lines. Introducing galvanized mods. Galvanized mods are essentially versions of already existing mods, but a whole lot more powerful with slight gimmicks. This one normally only gives you 80% multi-shot, and you're gonna say, hey, hold on dude, galvanized chamber. The normal one gave you 90, but this one on kill adds another 30% for 20 seconds, and it also stacks up 5 times. So that's another 150 as long as I am getting consistent kills. Not only that, but if the timer runs out on this puppy, it just goes to a lower stack. It's one of the best mods you can ever get. It's multi-shot. What I got here is Corrupted Bane of the Prime Bane of the Corrupted. This is what we call a faction mod. Yes, faction mods provide a separate multiplier to the damage table, which can be huge on the right build, especially on damage over time builds, which we are using on the Sybaris. Now, most players that I have come across don't really like using Bane mods, because you see the problem with this one, it increases the damage, but just to one faction, just to the Corrupted. So if you're not shooting Corrupted, automatically this becomes worthless. There are faction mods for most of the factions in Warframe except Sentience, and you can swap them in and out from mission to mission, but most players don't like doing that. We don't like swapping in and out from mission to mission. Also, you need a lot of endo to max all of them out. Take a look at all those balls. I'm going to be showcasing this one just because I want the Dex Sybaris to have all the damage multipliers. In order for you to achieve the best builds for the best weapons, you must access all of the potential damage multipliers in Warframe. You can't go ham on a single multiplier. For example, you like crit because pretty numbers on the screen. I get it, I honestly do, but the more you add of the same multiplier, the less you're gonna be getting out of it. The point is, math has diminishing returns. Warframe does have diminishing returns, I think, in Conclave. That's PvP and most players don't do that, so correct me if I'm wrong. In Conclave, that's a different kettle of fish, something we will tackle some other time. This is the Riven I was talking about earlier. Look at the stats on it. It has critical chance, multi-shot. But if I had a bad roll on this one, it could have had reload speed and... what do I usually get? Oh yeah, minus damage. You can also get a negative on these. I'm not encouraging you to go out and get Rivens. As you can see, this one is for MR15 and it has been rolled 10 times. To roll a Riven 10 times and to get a good roll, such as this one, is not all that common. Or at least not for me. I told you to ignore these slots right here. Guided Ordnance is not really necessary, increases the accuracy, more headshots, more damage, better usability, yada yada. You get how that one works. Because the recoil shouldn't be reduced because it basically has no recoil. Arcanes in Warframe. Pretty bloody powerful. Not only on weapons, but on Warframes as well. Check this one out, my friend. On kill, 30% damage for 4 seconds, stacks up 12 times, plus 30% reload speed. Now, you might be tempted to go with another very powerful arcane, and it's called Deadhead. What you gotta bear in mind, Deadhead is on precision headshot kill. So since most of your targets are gonna be dying to damage over time effects, aka the slash proc we already talked about, you're not gonna get the benefit from this one. You need your contact damage to kill the target with a headshot in order to get a stack out of Deadhead, which is why for such builds and such weapons, Primary Merciless is the best in slot. Now we're going to be spawning again the level 120 Corrupted Heavy Goons and see the difference that the build can make. Oh, and if you're curious, dude, what do I swap out for the Riven? Because I don't have a Riven. It's pretty simple. You can either use more multi-shot, like we already talked about with Vigilante Armaments, or some flat damage with Serration. I'm not using Serration because I already have plenty sources of flat damage. Remember what we talked about? Piling on the same multiplier? That's the general idea. Now, this being a galvanized setup with an arcane, I'm gonna have to get a couple of kills. Take a look at my buff bar, upper right portion of the screen. I'm gonna be getting buffs, and the more buffs I get, the more insane the weapon will become, to the point that you're not gonna recognize it from the initial shots. Take a look at that, 20,000 bleed. That's a one shot pretty easily, and I keep on stacking 6 procs on that one, 25 plus separate instances. Look at that, free with free, absolutely annihilating the targets, and I'm still stacking. You see, you're gonna be able to make a pretty big difference if you got the right mods, if you understand how the game functions, if you understand what you're up against in terms of enemies, because what may work for one faction may not work for another. Now, unfortunately, this used to be a whole lot more true than it actually is today. The meta is slash and viral because it works fantastically well, but we used to have a bit of build diversity with building corrosive and all whatnot, and you can still do that. Viral doesn't always provide the best benefits together with slash, simply because if you head down to Deimos, which is a interesting, fun adventure, you should build corrosive damage. That is the elemental combo between electricity and toxic. Why? The enemies there, well, not all of them, but most of them are immune to viral, which is why you should be going for something else. You see, Warframe is a game about knowledge rather than skill or anything else. Oh, and accumulation as well. Get essentially everything. The whole Pokemon gotta catch them all thing. Take a look at that. This is a level 120 Exogog stat that you will find in Railjack, a pretty tough target in Warframe, and an introductory level weapon such as the Dex Sybaris is making mincemeat out of them. And I do believe that is pretty much it. One thing though, shooting standing still targets in the simulacrum is a pretty easy ordeal, especially when your weapon depends on you getting a proper headshot at least from time to time in order to perform, so let's take it to actual gameplay. It's important to understand what difficulty means in Warframe. Difficulty means more tougher enemies in what sense? They don't have any additional tricks, they don't know anything new, or like they learned a new ability or something. No, unfortunately not. Difficulty in Warframe means more bullet sponge enemies when it comes to Steel Path. That is the gist of it, yes? So effectively, more effective HP on your targets. This is a Corrupted Heavy Goon, Steel Path level 130. You have modifiers that make these guys a whole lot harder to kill. But as you can see, the Dex Sybaris has no problem in dealing with them. Even high level targets such as these will be falling against the weapon, as long as you can go for the headshot. Now, I'm also cheating a little bit. This is Revenant, and Revenant, if he has Mesmer Skin up, take a look at the stacks on my 2 ability, will be stunning the targets, and I can easily shoot them in the head or in their, well, vulnerable areas. Because as you saw there, that MOA doesn't really have a head, it has a vulnerable area, it's a little knapsack of sorts, yes? As for the performance of the weapon, take a look for it yourself. It's more than plenty to get you even through the Steel Path star chart. As long as you can aim, that is. Which, of course, is subjective. And I do believe, my friends, that's pretty much it. There's really not a whole lot I can talk about more when it comes to Steel Path performance. Guys hiding, that's not a problem. Always these bucket heads think that it's fine to hide there when they fully expose their head, which actually makes it more easier to hit them. But that's not important. Corrupted Heavy Goon, these are the only tougher targets. A single shot, 82,000 bleed on that one. You saw the red damage, did you see that? That is a tier 3 crit, and again, that is explained in the critical guide. There's an infinite number of tiers of crit in Warframe. Take a look at that, 21,000 out of the red slash. Now, this is mostly just the weapon on its own 2 feet, assisted by the Panzerwulpefala, my little kitty that is applying vital proc to the enemies. You see those little bulbs around the enemy, those red bulbs, that was by the Panzerwulpefala. That is the vital proc, and it looks very similar to another Warframe's ability. But if I was to go all out and pump up the damage of this weapon with my Warframe abilities, then it would look entirely different. Oh, this is an Eximus. He's immune to crowd control until you get the overshield off, and then it falls just like everything else. Now, about those Warframe buffs. And for weapon buffs, nobody does it better than Mirage Prime. She's absolutely fantastic because of her free ability Eclipse, which will be gathering a whole lot of damage for your weapons. Now, she does lack in terms of survivability, and also she is dependent on light sources to get that damage output or damage mitigation. So she's not exactly a new player friendly kind of frame. I would recommend you farm Rhino and use Roar while you're in the more lower stages of Mastery rank, and you get to kind of understand how things work. Corrosive projection against heavily armored targets is a fantastic idea. Enemy armor reduced by 18%. It's not mandatory by any stretch of the imagination on your build. If your newer energy siphon will be helping you out, I want to say a lot, but that would be a lie. It would be helping you at least a little bit till you get, what was it guys? Vazarin, Madurai, what was the Void School? There's a Void School that helps you with energy. Zenuric, that's it. Zenuric will help you. I actually legitimately forgot, haven't been using it in a while. Arcanes on a Warframe are a lot more impactful. Just like your weapons arcanes are extremely impactful, so are these. And I would recommend you keep one dedicated to your Warframe build. Warframe Adventure, however, is probably the most powerful offensive weapon arcane in Warframe. This will give you 45% critical chance for 12 seconds on, say, 21% chance on damage. But the beauty about this one is that it's bonus additive after. Meaning what? Meaning it doesn't care about the base critical chance of your weapon. It can be nada, 0, and it still gives it 45%. Not only that, it applies to your primary weapon, your secondary weapon, your melee, even your heavy weapon at the exact same time. And take note, these are all the Dex weapons you can get from the event, which are fantastic, and again, all of them come with a potato in their own slot. Where was I? Oh yes, let's talk about companion buffs. Companion buffs, you can go with the Panzerful Pofala, which will be getting you that important vital proc in case you don't want to build it on your weapon, or you see inconsistencies on that vital application, like you see in the case of the Dex Sybaris. Another option is to go for a Sentinel. If you are new, you go with Helios and let him scan essentially everything. Make sure that on your little Sentinel's weapon you have the Vigilante mods, offensive supplies, fervor, and armaments for the 20% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. It's not the same mechanic as getting flat out cricked, but it is fantastic, and even if the little Sentinel dies and never comes back to life, you don't need to cry, you will still retain this buff. Alright, let's test out the weapon again. We're gonna be spawning in the maximum I can, 165 on this puppy. We're gonna unpause them so they can hit me and I can get my glorious buffs. If I remember, they kind of start fighting each other. They might. They're kooky like that. And Power for Mirage that you get from the helmet ability and her free ability Eclipse for an absolutely huge damage buff. And finally, the best animation in Warframe. Ever so lovely. Ah, beautiful. Clones. And as before, my friends. How was that? How was that? You like the red numbers. I know you like the red numbers. The red numbers are cool. And this is what this weapon can do. Of course, I'm going to be getting essentially one shots without any issue. That was a 100,000 bleed on that target, and we can get to even crazier amounts than that. Now, normally because of the high contact damage, you don't even get to see a slash proc. Yes, if I manage to get the headshot, it should kill the target rather easily. Take a look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. The reason why I'm not bothering with these is because I don't even know where their head is. They're just the things that the Exogoogstat places down. Come out, whatever you is. It's time to draw some conclusions. My friends, for a newer player coming into the game, the advantages that this weapon offers are not small. You get yourself a weapon which is capable with a potato. We call the catalyst a potato in Warframe. With a potato already installed and its weapon slot. 100% go for this weapon. My hope is that this guide was useful to you. My hope is that you learned a whole lot more than just about the Dex Sybaris. You learned about modding in general. Now, there's one more thing that I do want to point out. Hey, listen, at low mastery ranks, there are other options to this weapon as well. So if you don't like it, if you want something more shotgunny, do you like shotguns? I love shotguns. Look at the cards right now for a different low MR weapon that also packs one hell of a punch. There are options at even low mastery ranks. So just because you're low MR doesn't mean you're gonna be stuck with crap. Definitely not. Do not judge a book by its covers. It doesn't apply to mostly anything in Warframe, and especially not to mods. As always, my name is Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe only if you enjoy the content. If you got any feedback for me, I would love to read it in the comment section down below. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. And if you love the content and you want to help me keep making it, consider supporting us via Patreon. There's gonna be a link in the upper portion of the screen right about now. One last thing, this video is in full HDR, so try to watch it on your TV and enjoy the beautiful, I don't know, colors and stuff. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye!